What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Real Life on the Wellspring podcast. My name is Brian.
And I'm Craig.
All right, we're going to jump into a conversation today.
Yeah.
That is interesting, I think. I think it's interesting.
Very. Interesting's a good word.
So to let you guys in on some of the process a little bit, Craig and I will throw around some ideas of what we're going to talk about on this podcast about real life.
Right.
And sometimes I have ideas. Sometimes Craig has really good ideas. And sometimes we're messaging each other back and forth, and it's like, man, I don't know if I'm really feeling it.
Nope. Nothing. Had nothing.
Yeah. And some days, both of us feel that way. Right.
Right.
And so that's what I want to talk about. I want to talk about what do you do when sometimes you just feel drained or maybe distracted by something else in life. And the phrase that I use is, and I'm just not feeling it. You know, like,
You mean that happens to other people and not just me?
Yes, when I'm just not feeling it.
Yep.
Especially when it comes to maybe some of the stuff that we talk about on this podcast or at Wellspring. When it comes to, all right, I want to try to be a Jesus follower in real life.
Yeah.
Right. Sometimes I'm just not feeling it.
Yep.
Right. So sometimes I feel like I can get so distracted, or maybe it's just tired, almost exhausted, feeling like, man, when it comes physically, emotionally, mentally, I'm my tank's getting close to E, and I'm just not feeling it.
Yep.
What do you do when that happens? Do you ever feel that way?
It's a really good question. What do you do? And yes, I do feel that way, and more often than I'd like to admit.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, 100%. And it's funny when you spend time around someone and you are authentic or you're real around them. People can pick up on it.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
One of the things that I feel like I think I'm allowed to feel proud about this is my mask is much worse than it used to be. I used to have a tremendous mask, man, like where I could fool anyone that my life is great.
I don't know.
Everything's wonderful. Oh, man, it was a good one.
Yeah, but
it was a good one.
Not as good as mine.
Yeah, for sure.
Not as good as mine. I mean, I got another 20 years on your head, buddy. So I had a lot more practice putting that mask on.
Yeah, I feel like mine is just worse and worse now.
Yeah.
Mine is worse and worse. And
that's the thing, is that as you put yourself in a position where you're building relationships with folks, it's harder to keep that mask up.
Yeah, and I think that's good. Like, I think that's a good thing.
It's painful.
Yeah,
it's painful, but it absolutely is a good thing.
Yeah, I think
it's a good thing.
I think it's a good thing when people are like, not that like you mope around or anything like that,
Right.
But when I don't feel the need to perform perfectly, or like we talked about last time we got together, I don't feel the need to like manage my image, right? But I'm comfortable enough around you that I'm operating and I'm friendly and I'm kind and I'm doing all this other stuff. But when you're in a real relationship with people, they can say, "Hey, are you good?
Yeah,
something's a little off with you."
Yeah, and it's entirely possible to live, because I did it for years and years and years, and go to church and slide in and smile and talk to folks and never let anyone get close enough to actually see that.
Yeah.
And that's a very lonely, isolating place, and it's a dangerous place.
It is. I have a hunch, just from 15 years of doing ministry with people, that most people actually live like that.
Yeah.
I think most people live their life kind of that way.
Yep.
And when you're just not feeling it,
Right.
You're like, I don't know if I want anybody to
know about this.
see this.
Yeah.
Right.
And why do you think they do that? I got some clues as to why I did it, but
I think one reason for me might be it's wrong for me to feel this way. Like it's wrong for me to I'm just not feeling it today.
Right.
Like it might be sinful.
Yep.
That I feel this way.
Yep.
right?
And for me, I typically it's been, I'm have a fear around something. It's a pretty big word, but I think that's genuinely what it is: a fear of you not thinking well of me, of you maybe rejecting me. And then you start hearing all these scriptures: no perfect love casts out fear, and therefore I don't have his perfect love, therefore I'm not close to God, therefore I'm a sinner, therefore I don't want anyone to know about it.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, like there's plenty of times where I think I said this before off camera, where it's like, yeah, I don't know if this is this version of me or how I'm thinking or what I'm saying is for public consumption.
Right.
Like, I don't know if I want my children to see me like this, or I don't know if I want anybody to know that, like, man, I'm really not in it right now. Like, I'm not okay.
Yep.
And then it's like, well, is it sinful? Is it wrong for you to feel that way? And I'm going to make a big statement and say no. Like, it's not.
I'm going to give a resounding I agree.
Yeah, it's not sinful or wrong if you're just not feeling it.
Right.
Because my tendency would then be to beat myself up even more.
Yep.
And I think I hear a lot of people do that, where you're just not feeling it, you're just not in it. Man, there might be crazy stories that you're telling yourself going through your head.
So I was going to say, let's unpack that a little bit. What does not feeling it look like? And it might look like different things for different people. And for me, it feels I'm a little down. It feels like maybe I'm a lot down.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm a little anxious. Maybe I'm a lot anxious.
Yeah.
Feels like that I'm concerned about what other people are thinking about me.
Yeah.
Feels like I'm concerned about what I'm going to do next. And these are all things that I feel when I'm not feeling it.
Yeah. For me, I think a lot of times it comes when I'm tired, emotionally, physically, mentally, spiritually. When I'm tired. Because I think the feeling is anxiety, which I have a relationship with, unfortunately.
Right.
Anxiety, even almost, I'm going to say depression. I know that's like a big, complicated feeling.
Yep.
But I would say it's kind of tied to futility.
Right. Or a lack of hope.
Yeah.
A feeling of hopelessness.
Of like, it doesn't really matter what I'm going to do here.
Yeah.
Like, it's not going to go this way that I have in my head. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Or that's not going to make things any better.
Yep.
And so you get kind of this washing, this feeling of futility or hopelessness or whatever just wash over you. And I think it's okay if you feel that way.
I absolutely agree. I don't believe it's a sin. I believe it's a natural human case. I mean, again, the Bible talks about in this world you will have troubles. But he says, count it all joy, or take heart.
Yeah.
And feel the joy.
Yeah.
But joy is not like this gleeful, crazy happiness.
No.
It can be something deep inside that says, even in the midst of these troubles, there's some truth in the sense that Christ is with me.
Yeah. Yeah. When he says, like, hey, in this world you will have trouble.
Yep.
Take heart. I've overcome the world.
Yep.
He didn't say, like, take heart. I'll make all those bad feelings go away.
Yeah.
Like, no, that's not what he said.
Or he didn't say, woe to you, or you sinful so-and-so, because you're feeling this way.
In this world, you will have trouble. And when you feel those troubles, shame on you.
Shame on you, yeah.
Right,
right. You are condemned and forever.
I don't remember reading that. In fact, I the reason why I know that this is part of the human condition is that, like, I've read the Psalms before.
Yeah.
Full of songs, that are written that most of the time are... a lot of them say some pretty wild stuff. Like, I'll just simplify and paraphrase, but a lot of it is like, I'm angry, I'm worried, I'm hopeless.
Yep.
I feel like this is futile.
Right.
And a lot of times in the Psalms, and the person I'm going to ultimately blame is you, God.
yeah.
Like, my enemies are doing this, pointing to other people. Other people are doing X, Y, Z, blah, 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 all this other stuff.
Right.
And this is your fault. And I think that feeling, when you have that feeling, I don't think that you should beat yourself up about it.
I think I think I love the raw truth of the Bible, talking about folks that had these not feeling it feelings.
Yeah, yeah.
These feelings of hopelessness, of anxiety, of depression, of concern. They're all there in the Bible, and they're not there along with, and therefore you're a sinner, you're messed up. Da, da, da. They're there as a real life. This is the human condition, and the answer then is to turn to God.
Yeah. Well, to me, the really encouraging thing is, like it says in the Psalms, that it's actually the opposite of what I might feel. God, where are you? Like, this seems hopeless, or I'm so worried about this, and blah, blah, blah. And ultimately what I'm communicating is like, man, my heart's kind of broken for where I'm at right now.
Right. And that's okay.
Yeah. And well, it's actually, and I'm thinking, you're a million miles away.
Yeah.
God says the opposite.
Yeah.
He says, I'm near to the brokenhearted.
Right.
Like, so in the feeling of like, man, I'm not feeling it. Like, and that's a polite way of not expressing the truest feelings that I have, you know, man, I'm not feeling it. It ultimately, I feel like what God communicates is like, that's okay.
Yeah.
Like, I'm nearby.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. And I found in recent years that the best way that I can actually sense God's nearness to me is often through other people who I am open and honest with.
yeah, but that's the last person. That's the last thing I want to do.
Right.
Right. Like,
Right.
That's the last thing I want to do.
Sit alone and mope and
Yeah. Sometimes I just want to sit there and do the 1,000-yard stare.
Yep.
And let my mind really, if I'm being honest, I have this tendency, like, just ruminate on the thing that I'm struggling with, as if that's going to fix it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, well, maybe if I think more about it, I'll think myself out of this. It's like,
I'm an expert at that. I really am.
I don't think
and as
that
an
works.
introvert, that's a go-to pattern for me, and it's not a good place to sit because it can often spiral down. But somehow, I think there's something that when you're connecting your thoughts, instead of just thinking about it, but connecting your thoughts to your mouth and choosing your words and having to explain yourself to somebody else. That's why counseling is so valuable and so important.
I just this week, or maybe it was last week, I connected someone with a counselor, a friend of mine, and they were saying, like, I don't know if they want to talk to me. Like, I'm pretty like complicated and screwed up.
Right.
And I said, I've never met a person who isn't.
Yeah.
Like, I've never met someone who isn't. And if they present themselves as if they're not, they're probably more screwed up and complicated than I am.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. There's an old saying that if everyone else is if you've got no crazy people around you, then you're probably
then you're the crazy one.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. So sometimes when you're not feeling it, when it's those like I was talking about for me, it's those feelings of like high anxiety or depression or hopelessness or whatever. One of the things that I remind myself of is I have not always felt this way. If I've not always felt this way, I will not always feel this way.
Right.
Like, this had a beginning.
Sure.
That means it'll have an end.
Yep.
Like, it will have an end. Okay. So that means this feeling that I have is passing.
Yep.
All right. Also, I'm not alone in that. Psalm 23, most popular probably passage in the Bible.
Right.
Yea, though I walk through the valley
Yep.
of the shadow of death, like, I will fear no evil.
Yeah.
Like, I don't have to be afraid that this is going to destroy me.
Okay, but I get that and I agree with it. But let me just maybe speaking to myself here and maybe a few other folks. But what if I go through the valley and I end up camping there and I build a house and I'm parked in that valley for quite a while?
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. Well, sometimes I think that's the idea. I think that's the idea of the word through. And even kind of the concept that I was talking about is that you weren't always there. And so to make the assumption that you will always be there
Yep.
is the wrong assumption.
Right.
Like,
And so that we were talking about this before, but this idea of what is a truth and what are lies.
yeah.
And then when we're sitting in these times of not feeling it, when we're sitting in the valley, when we're sitting in these dark places, I often tell myself the lie, and I hear it from other folks as well, that this is who I am.
Ugh.
This is, I am a depressing, hopeless, terrible person, and I'm going to be parked here forever.
Yeah. And when I hear that, to be honest with you, I have a mix of emotions. Like part of it is empathy.
Yeah.
And then part of it is like frustration. Like I'm not frustrated at you,
Right.
like frustrated for you.
Yeah.
Like, but because I know that feeling.
Yeah.
But it's just not true.
Right.
Like
It is not true.
feel all the feelings.
Yep.
Like there's nothing inherently sinful about feelings even of anxiety or feelings of hopelessness.
Right.
There's nothing inherently sinful about that. Like feel all the feelings, but as you're processing that, right? As you're clearing your head, as you're even getting advice and talking, make sure you tell yourself the truth. If you're angry, be mad.
Yep.
Like, dude, be angry.
Right.
Don't lie.
Right.
Be angry. Don't lie. Like, if you're heartbroken, be heartbroken. Weep. Like, be heartbroken. Just don't lie. Like, because when you start to lie to yourself, that's where those are the bricks that build your house in that valley.
Right.
Where you say, all right, well, here's this lie, and this lie is the foundation.
Yep.
All right, and now this lie is this wall, and pretty soon you've built yourself a really nice little cottage there with a comfy chair and a nice bed and a warm fire in the middle of a nightmare.
Yep.
And what did that was the lies that you told yourself.
I'm going to come out and say that I built a mansion down there.
Yeah.
I have been parked there.
Yeah.
During times of my life for a long time.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's because it becomes so comfortable.
Yes.
It becomes hard to get out of there.
Yeah.
And I guess the way I've found is sharing with somebody else and holding their hand and letting somebody else walk me out of it. But practically, it's even just the path out can be long and hard, and the way to achieve that is just one small little step at a time.
Yeah.
Just take one thing. I love that there's an admiral around that talks about waking up and making your bed.
Yeah.
Just make your bed in the morning, and if that's just one thing you can do, and if that's the only thing you do in your day, great, just do that one thing.
Well, and the truth is like, yeah, it's the way out of that valley or that feeling is one step at a time. And that's a process.
Yeah.
But you're fooling yourself if you don't think the opposite of staying in that valley is also, like we talked about, it one brick at a time. You're going to build that. You're going to tell yourself lie after lie after lie because they might feel better than the truth.
Yep.
Right. But it's still, you're doing it one step at. So look, it's all going to be one thing at a time.
Yeah. So
So you can either walk towards like freedom because ultimately it was Jesus that said the truth will set you free.
Right.
Like ultimately you can take steps towards freedom.
Wow, that's good.
Or I'm just going to take steps and I'm going to build this mansion in a nightmare.
Yep.
Like, and I just don't feel like that's the way to live.
No, and I think one thing I've found too is that I've noticed that sometimes people say, "Oh, set goals and have a vision and look at the future and blah blah blah." But sometimes that seems so fuzzy, or also seems scary.
Yeah.
That it doesn't drive me forward as well as it could, or often at all. But so that's good. But the other side of it is saying, well, what happens if I camp here and do build mansion and I'm going to stay here for the rest of my life?
Yeah.
And so there should be this pull and push at the same time.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's not just about, what's your vision, your dreams, and your goals for future. It's about, well, if you stay here, it's only going to get worse.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, that's where I feel like I don't hate motivation. I just know that it's cheap.
Cheap, yeah.
You know, like it comes easy and it goes quick.
Quick, yeah.
Like you want motivation, like search motivation on your Instagram feed. You know,
Right.
It'll come real easy.
Yep.
But it'll also leave. It goes quick.
Yeah.
So it's just motivation is just cheap.
Right.
Like and that doesn't mean that like it's worthless.
Mm-hmm.
It's just cheap.
Cheap. Yeah.
So understand that that's what that is.
Yep.
Like the truth though is sometimes expensive. You know, sometimes the truth is expensive, meaning I am going to have to change my mind about this, and sometimes that's hard.
Right.
Like that can make a big shift in your life.
Yeah.
When you change your mind about something.
Yep.
But that's what happens is like it's a shift in your life.
Because we cling. I think again, it's the human condition that we cling to what we know, even if it's uncomfortable at the time. And you look at the Israelites wandering through the desert for 40 years. There's parked there, and there's a promised land just across the river.
Yeah.
And there they are wandering around the desert for 40 years. You know, that's crazy to me. But yet I look at my own life, and I've done lots of desert wandering.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh yeah. You know what's beautiful even about that wandering. They were led by a pillar of cloud during the day.
Yep.
And a pillar of fire at night.
Right.
So even in their wandering,
Yep.
There's a very beautiful lesson that you can learn from just that example. They're wandering through the Sinai Peninsula,
Yep.
right? And parts of Arabia. Like it's hot
Yeah.
during the day.
Yeah. And
So
40 years, they got a lot of summers there.
Yeah. So the closer you are to the cloud in the day, the cooler,
cooler it
the
was.
more comfortable, the more bearable the wandering is.
Yep.
And at night, when you're in the middle of the desert and it's freezing,
Yep.
like the closer you are to the
The
fire,
yeah.
the more bearable it is.
That's good.
And so even in the feeling of wandering,
Yep.
that's a great illustration for not feeling it.
Right.
Even in the feeling of wandering,
Yep.
the closer you can go, well, I'm going to get close to this cloud
Yep.
during the day, even though I have no idea where I'm going.
And what I think about that is that sometimes I'm going to do the big pity party, woe is me thing, and I'm saying, well, you guys go get closer to the cloud, or you guys get close to the fire. I'm going to stay over here in my my hellhole.
Yeah.
And yet, when we have people around us that care, they'll say no.
Yeah.
We're gonna. You come with us.
Yeah.
And we'll walk you closer and walk you into a more comfortable place.
Yeah, it's like, no, you're coming with us.
With us, yeah.
Yeah, you're coming with us.
Right.
I mean, because in that story, like the people who didn't go with them, like they got buried in the desert.
Yeah.
And that's not going to be the end of my story.
No.
Like, sorry, I don't end here.
Yeah.
In this wandering,
Right.
I don't end here.
Yeah.
Like I'm going to make it through.
Right.
And part of that is, you might say, well, that sounds motivating. To me, it sounds like the truth.
Right.
It's different.
Again, it's that word truth and the way the Bible describes truth, it's coming from God, is the most powerful thing that we can listen to.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah, so sometimes you just don't feel it. You know what I mean?
Many times we do not. Many times we do not. And maybe people are watching this and listening to us and going, you guys are off the wall and we're all fine.
Yeah,
maybe there's one or two of you that
you guys having a big pity party over here.
Maybe there's one or two of you out there going, yeah, I don't want to admit it, but yes, I am admitting it, and I'm not feeling it either right now. And I guess we want to say, we understand, we're with you. It happens to all of us, and you don't want to hear platitudes like, go and read your Bible and pray and do things like that. You want to pick up the phone, take a friend out for coffee, sit down and tell them. Yeah. And you'll get to know your friends too, because if someone starts telling you, go read your Bible, pray more, and get over it and wake up, that's probably not the friend you want to share it with.
Probably not.
But there are people out there. I've come across incredibly godly people who genuinely care and absolutely want to sit with you in the middle of that painful time.
Yeah.
And help walk you out of it.
Yeah. And you might say, like a question that pops into my mind is like, okay, I want to tell myself the truth. How do I know what I'm hearing is true or not? Right. To me, what the truth always sounds different than a lie does. It rings a little differently. And I think it's because ultimately, like we said, I think all truth belongs to God. And this is a cool thing that Jesus said is he said, my sheep know my voice. And so when you hear something true, like, I don't think I have to sit there and wonder, is that really true? It's like, when you hear it, you know.
You know it. Yeah. And I absolutely concur with that. And I've sat with folks who try and say this and try and say that, and it kind of doesn't quite land. But every now and again, they'll say something, and it'll shake you, and you'll feel this sense of, it may even be incredibly uncomfortable because it's in such contrast to where you're at.
Yeah.
But as you say, there's a sense of like, oh, that means something.
Yeah.
It's
illuminating.
Changing the way I'm thinking right now.
Big time.
It's shaking me up. Yeah.
All right. So if you're not feeling it sometime, like, you're not alone. It's cool. And if you want to meet some folks that like, hey, how do I walk out of this? Come hang out with us Sundays at 10 a.m. at the Bear Levin Studer YMCA. That's when Wellspring gathers on Sunday mornings, and we would love to hang out with you. And if you're looking for somebody to walk with, we got house churches and lots of folks who are probably very familiar with where you're at.
Yeah.
Whether it's great times or rough times, whatever, we just do this thing together. So we'd love to see you guys. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time. See you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.